October 8th meeting to consider the unfinished business of the October 8th meeting. I'd like to say good evening and welcome to all of you as you come back. Ms. Foster is not with us apparently at this time. She normally offers our invocation. Mr. Fox will lead us in pledge of allegiance. Is there someone that would like to offer our invocation in our board this evening? Ms. Jenkins, thank you. If we stand then, and Ms. Jenkins, if you would offer the invocation, and Mr. Fox of the pledge of allegiance.
Our first Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight, Lord. We thank you for your blessings that you've given us. Just pray now, Lord, that you'll bless us as we go into these meetings, that you'll give us the wisdom and knowledge to make the right decisions to move the county forward. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you proceed with roll call, please?
We'll begin this evening with Mr. Lee. Here. Marin.
Here.
Mann.
Here.
Miller.
Present.
Moxie.
Here.
Nesbitt.
Here.
Lightlinger.
Present.
Saul.
Here.
Stark.
Present.
Stone.
Here.
Wall.
Present.
Mr. A.J. Wright.
Here.
Bill Wright.
Here.
Alexander.
Present.
Barney. Boyd. Criswell.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Dodge.
Present.
Greer.
Here.
Foster. Foster. Fox.
Present.
Green.
Here.
Jenkins. Here. Johnson.
Here.
Knight. And Mr. Knight. And Chairman White.
Present. Thank you, Madam Clerk. I might mention before we move to item 4 on our agenda, the consideration of our budget and annual tax levy, that public comments are not a part of this agenda. They will be part of the meeting that will immediately follow this meeting. So those that are here that want to address the board in the public comment section, this is simply a reconvened portion of the October 8th meeting. So with that, Mr. Alexander, item 4 on the agenda is a consideration of our budget and levy for the coming year. Sorry we started without you, Ms. Foster, but we'll wait till you get seated.
Oh, well, should I have the prayer?
We've already done that. Ms. Jenkins did that, but we'll have a prayer at the beginning of the next meeting, and you can do that one for us.
Well, that would be fine.
Okay?
Well, there's snow and all, you know, and a little cold.
Well, we'll wait a minute till you get settled in your chair. Okay, Mr. Alexander.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have in your reconvened agenda the two ordinances for the budget and for the levy. Item 4A is the ordinance for the 2013-2014 budget. I would move to dispense with the reading of this ordinance and pass it this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, there's been a motion to accept the budget as it's presented. Is there a second, please? Is there a second, please? Mr. Lee, thank you. Mr. Lee has seconded the motion for the, ordinance for the budget and the appropriation. So, this time, our discussion primarily was in the month of October. If there is a question or two or a comment, I think Mr. Alexander is prepared to take those. That's where we'll be.
Was there also a request from us, from our auditors?
Yes. Linda, do you want to speak now, or do you want to wait till we get closer to vote time?
Let's wait till,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, are there questions or are there comments concerning the budget as it's been prepared? Any questions about the budget? Mr. Wright?
I'm just kind of confused, this is for the.
This is the budget. The budget is the document that accounts for the expenditure of funds. The levy, the second part of this, under B, is the part that raises the funds for the budget. And there'll be two separate votes, one on the budget and one on the levy. Any questions on the budget? If not, roll call vote, please.
Could I just interject something very quickly? Thank you very much for the calls and the contact. I've spoken with a few of you concerning the budget, and I appreciate your response to my request to seek information after following our discussion in October and between the meetings. So thanks also for those of you that attended the Finance Committee meeting and voiced some questions with those as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Maron?
Yes.
Ms. Mann?
No.
Miller?
No.
Markey?
Yes.
Nesbit?
Yes.
Lightner?
Yes.
Stahl?
No.
Stark?
Yes.
Stone?
Yes.
Wall?
Yes.
A.J. Wright?
No.
Bill Wright?
Yes.
Alexander?
Yes.
Criswell?
No.
Davis?
Yes.
Dodge?
No.
Greer?
Yes.
Foster? Yes. Fox?
Yes.
Green?
Yes.
Jenkins? Yes. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
And Mr. Leonard?
Yes.
Seventeen yes, 7 no, and 3 absent, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, motion carries. Mr. Alexander, do you want to lead us into
Yes,
the levy?
You have on item 4B1, the ordinance for the passage of the 2013-2014 levy. I would move to dispense with the reading of the ordinance and pass such this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion for the levy. Is there a second, please? Mr. Maron, thank you. A second. Okay, there's a motion and a second on the floor to consider the tax levy for Vermilion County for the 13-14 annual budget. Questions or discussion? Okay, I would just say to you that there have been many hours that have gone into crafting this levy and budget. We had many questions in the October meeting, and I think I stated at that time, if you were going to vote to put the budget on display, that needed to translate into a yes vote in November, simply because of the time constraint that wouldn't allow us to change the levy or the budget, prior to the end of the fiscal year. I understand this vote may be very hard for some of you. I understand also that a yes vote is a responsible vote for the county and its financial future. If we fail to pass this budget and levy tonight, Vermilion County will shut down as of December 1st of 2013. So there would only be essential people that would be involved, public safety buildings, juvenile detention, security in the buildings and buildings in town. So I just want to let everybody know that it's important that we have a levy and a budget in place tonight. So Ms. Anasty, would you like to address the board, please?
This is something that in my 25 years here I have not done. But I will say I've been involved in a lot of budgets, and obviously I see every invoice that goes through Vermilion County. We have all found ways and scrimps and safes to keep our costs down. Nikki, who unfortunately could not be here this evening, but Nikki and I worked many years with our past chairman, Jim McMahon, to keep our costs down and to keep our levies down. However, unfortunately, things are out of our control. The cost in your home is going up to heat it, your gas is going up, your food is going up, so it's going up the same around here. We also have run into some major problems with the infrastructure. This year, so far, we have put out over $400,000 to repair boilers, roofs, and a courtroom, and then we have more to go out for the damage that was caused by the leaking roof. I'm begging you, excuse me, I'm begging you to be responsible and vote yes. Do I want a tax increase? Absolutely not, because I pay it just like everybody else. But I also want to be able to continue to give the services to our taxpayers and our citizens that they deserve.
Any questions of Ms. Anderson? Okay, thank you, Linda. Okay, any other comments or questions, Mr. Wright?
I'm a little confused on, I didn't understand that we were going to go back to the November 8th.
I'm sorry?
A little confused about how it went back, or October 8th, I mean. But, I mean, what I wanted, I mean, this would be the time to talk about why we should or should not actually raise taxes, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, as I went to the meeting with the financial, I wanted to hear the pros and cons, and one of the things that I think it would be really bad for us to actually do this at this time because of all the money that we have received. $3.5 million for the nursing home. There's on the land, I mean, you're looking at around $1.5 million for that. When you come down, I mean, when you look at all the jobs that was lost, I mean, that's money that we will not have to spend. The wind farm's gonna bring $287,000 in for next year. You get the substation, the power lines are gonna bring in $50,000 more. The PSB, I mean, we're talking about responsible actual rate spending. The PSB, $11.8 million rent. And I think that's, I mean, I'm not sure, I need somebody to explain that to me. How do we spend $11.8 million for rent? I don't know what that building would cost, but there's just some things that I'm just not understanding. All this money that's coming in, and we're gonna tax people that's already hurting. I mean, we have Obamacare coming in, and we know for a fact, businesses are talking about it all over, that they're gonna, lower the hours for people. They're gonna bring it down to, 29 hours, so they don't have to pay them. And then we're gonna ask them to pay more when we're getting quite a bit of money coming in right here at one time. I'm not saying there's never a time for an increase, and I'm sure there is, but I don't know how we keep, Vermilion County keeps, getting, less and less per household money made, and we're gonna actually ask them for more. I don't know how much more we can ask for.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wright.
People got fixed income for tax increase at this time.
I'm sorry, Mr. Griswold.
It's hard for people on fixed income.
It is.
I got so much coming in a month and I got a budget with that.
Yes. Thank you.
I'd like to ask Mr. Wright, how much the township has raised their highway money in it? That budget?
Yeah, sometimes we do, yes.
You have raised it in the last 4 years.
Yes.
Why is that?
Because of the increases in cost, but we have no other way of getting money in.
Well, the road's not sold yet, either.
I understand that, and we have $700,000 that we're not sure where that's going from, and we're saying that we're gonna put that in IRMRF. How much money does the state actually owe us? For actually having it?
We haven't got it.
I understand that, but that's money that's gonna be coming in, and when you're talking about this much money, I don't know how you're ever gonna ask the people, when you're looking at this much money, later down the road, I understand that you may have to ask for an increase. But this right now, at this present time, there's no way that you can look at this much increase and say, let's raise taxes on people.
I think there's somebody in this room that pays more real estate tax than I do. And I'll put it on everybody that sits here on a real estate tax, not farmland. I'm talking about a house. And I'm for the increase.
Okay. Mr. Miller?
I'm gonna vote no, but I can tell you, it's not because I'm not being, responsible. It's not because I haven't put a lot of time or thought into the tax increase. When I was doing my research, I found that Vermilion County and the Danville area is in the top 25 fastest growing metropolitan areas across the United States. And I'm not sure how increasing taxes is gonna help the average constituent of Vermilion County. So it's hard for me looking at that information to say, I think a tax increase at this time would be, positive.
Okay, thank you. Other comments?
I'd like one more question. How much really will they be raised for under?
The levy increase, is a 3.6% increase.
Thank you.
If you pay $1,000 in taxes, that will raise, a 3.6 translates into a $5.60 increase in your tax bill on $1,000 of taxes. It's $28 on $5,000 worth of taxes. It's $56 on $10,000 worth of taxes. If you look at the tax bill in its entirety, what we're asking for is 0.5% of your total tax bill to go to the county. And like the township, the county has very limited resources other than property taxes. Now, Mr. Wright, we're not gonna get into this discussion tonight. It would seem maybe you and I and Nikki need to you got some numbers that are grossly wrong. The PSB rent is one of them. You're over twice what that, look in your budget book, and you'll see what the budgeted number is. We're not gonna have that discussion tonight, but I'm just offering you an invitation. If you wanna come and get some accurate numbers, we'll be glad to do that with you.
I just wanna say that's the same number I gave to you just the other night at the meeting.
Well, look in your budget book. If you look on page, section C 34, you'll find a recap of the levies, and you'll find that the PSB rent fund is nowhere near that. Are there other questions or comments? Mr. McMahon?
Well, I really didn't want to comment, but you're kind of debating, and the chair really shouldn't be debating, but, when you look at the figures, when you're saying it's a 3.6% increase, you're calculating what the county share was. You're counting the nursing home in that share. The nursing home wasn't really the county share, it was the nursing home money. So technically, you are getting more money to run the county with this levy, correct?
Correct. Okay, are there other questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Pardon?
I'd like to call for the vote.
Question's been called for. Roll call vote, next, please, Madam Chairman. Madam Clerk, sorry. I'll let you be chairman tonight.
Mr. McMahon,
No.
Miller,
No.
Moxie,
Yes.
Nesbit,
Yes.
Lightlinger,
Yes.
Saul, Stark,
Yes.
Stone, Wall, AJ Wright,
No.
Bill Wright,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Criswell,
No.
Davis,
Yes.
Dodge,
No.
Greer,
Yes.
Foster, yes, Fox,
Yes.
Green, Jenkins, Johnson, Lee,
Yes.
Marin,
Yes.
Chairman Whiter.
Yes.
Seven no's, 17 yes, and 3 absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. This time.
Thank you. That concludes the reconvened session of the October 8th meeting, and with all business items completed, we'll declare this meeting adjourned, and in a moment here, we will convene the regular November meeting. So if you need to stand up, take a stretch, get a can of pop or something, like now would be the time to do it. Please come to order. We're going to call the regular November 12th meeting to order. And to start our meeting, we're going to ask our chaplain, Iva Dale Foster, for our invocation. And Mr. Fox, we're going to ask you to lead our pledge to the flag again. So, twice tonight. Yes, sir. So, Ms. Foster.
May we all bow our heads for a moment of silence, after which I will say amen, and then we will have our evening prayer. We would like to have a moment of silence for our servicemen and women in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, Egypt, and the United States. And we ask a special prayer for the terrible typhoons in the Philippines. Amen. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for our meeting today, right after Veterans Day and before Thanksgiving Day. We ask you for a peaceful and agreeable meeting to settle our budget and all important concerns for our county. Comfort and heal any of our sick and bereaved in public office and on the county board, of which we have George Lucas, father of Lucas, Mike Lucas, and we know that that family is bereaved. Linda Anstey is his mother, and we ask for healing for Mickey Bogart's father, who is hospitalized, and we ask for comfort for all of them. And we ask for comfort for the family of Judge John T. Meyer, who all of us knew so long, who passed away. Go with me and my family members as we journey to Phoenix, Arizona by plane to visit and celebrate my two grandsons' birthdays. And we will be leaving here at 11:30. And he has been there for 20 years, and this is my first time going there. May we all have a blessed Thanksgiving. All of these blessings I give in thy name, and all of these blessings, all of the thanks I give in thy name, and all of these blessings we ask in thy name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Quickly, Mr. minutes so Ms. Foster can regain her seat there. Okay, let's proceed with item 4 on our agenda. Roll call, please.
In this portion of this meeting is Mr. Miller. Moxie.
Here.
Nesbit.
Here.
Nightlinger.
Present.
Saul.
Here.
Stark.
Here.
Stone.
Here.
Wall. A.J. Wright.
Here.
Bill Wright.
Here.
Alexander.
Present.
Criswell.
Here.
Davis. Mr. Davis. Dodge.
Present.
Greer.
Here.
Foster. Fox.
Present.
Green. Jenkins. Johnson. Knight.
Here.
Yeah.
Lee.
Here.
Maron.
Here.
McMahon.
Here.
Chairman Weiner.
Present.
And am I correct, Mr. Davis is not there?
Correct, he is not with us at this meeting.
So we have 24 present and 3 absent, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Let's proceed with item 5 on our agenda, the adoption or amendment of the agenda. Are there any amendments that anyone has to our agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion for accepting the agenda as printed before you. Mr. Alexander has moved. Pardon? Mr. Alexander has moved, and Ms. Foster, would you second that motion?
Yes, I will.
Ms. Foster has seconded the motion. Any question or discussion concerning it? All those in favor of adopting the agenda as written, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is number 6, the approval of the minutes. They are before you in your packet. Hope you've all had a chance to look through them. Is there a motion for approval of the minutes, please?
So moved.
Mr. Fox, thank you. Do we need a second for the motion?
Second.
Ms. Foster has seconded the motion for approval of minutes. Thank you. Any questions or discussion concerning or any addendums to the minutes? If not, all those in favor of accepting the approval of the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Report on claims. Do we have a motion to accept the report on claims?
I would move to dispense with the reading of the report, Mr. Chairman, as read.
Mr. Alexander has moved for an acceptance of the report on claims. Do we have a second?
I'll say,
Mr. Maron, I've got it ahead of you, Mr. Fox. Mr. Maron has seconded the report on claims. Any discussion or questions? If not, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Moxie.
Yes.
Nesbit.
Yes.
Nightlinger.
Yes.
Saul.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Stone.
yes,
Wall. Wright. A.J.
Yes.
Bill Wright.
Yes.
Alexander.
Yes.
Criswell.
Yes.
Dodge.
Yes.
Greer.
Yes.
Foster. Yes. Fox.
yes,
Green.
Yes.
Jenkins. Yes. Johnson.
Yes.
Knight.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Maron.
Yes.
McMahon.
Yes.
Miller.
yes.
Chairman Weiner.
Yes.
3 absent, 24 present.
Thank you. Motion carries. Number 8 on our agenda is audience comments. I would like to just remind everybody that the proceedings tonight are being recorded with video and recorded with audio. I am going to ask tonight if there are any people in the audience that have comments that pertain to any agenda item other than the wind farm. I'd like to give you the opportunity to speak first. At that point in time, then we'll let the people that have comments about the wind farm. Is there anybody in the audience that has anything else other than a wind farm comment that they would like to make? I'm gonna ask also for Vermilion County residents first. Jim, if you'll come forward, I'll recognize you at this time, and then if there are no other Vermilion County residents, you certainly can have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Watson.
My name is Robert James Watson, and I live in Tilton, Illinois. And most of you know me, some of you don't. But, I missed last month's meeting. I had a grandchild's birthday. But anyway, on the thing that kind of bothers me a little bit on the tax rate is the nursing home. We got rid of the nursing home, we received $2,600,000, I hope, was our final count for our budget. And then we have the 10% taxes for the nursing home we're still collecting, which adds up, I think, almost a little over $1 million a year. And I don't know what you do with that. Maybe that's, you still do it, or you may have gave it back to the taxpayers. I truly don't know what you did with the 10%. So I think hopefully that by getting rid of the nursing home, which was 33% of our workforce, that's people we don't pay no more, we get that money back too. We don't have people working for us, so therefore we have an excess of money somehow. So therefore that could be put to good use for the sheriff's department or the public safety over to Michael Clary's office or wherever it should be. But I think that we gotta kinda, if we raise the levy, and we just did this evening, we need to count for our money that we're using right now. And we do need to know, and I don't know, where, when we receive money that we don't use no more from the nursing home, the 20 or 33% of the people that we don't even pay their insurance or anything anymore. All that adds up more than just wages. So, and one other comment that I do have before I leave, and thank you very much for letting me, is we are getting new business in town, which we're getting new stores and everything. It just isn't, we actually need manufacturing businesses. These people gotta go to work somewhere outside grocery stores at minimum wage or whatever, and clothing stores there. It really looks nice, they did a wonderful job up there, what have you, but I just think we need to apply ourselves to more industrial. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Watson, are there others, Vermilion County residents that have anything they wanna say concerning any issue other than the wind farm? Okay, I think we've been completed that, so please come forward. Identify yourself and make your comment.
My name is John Kraft, and first of all, the Open Meetings Act does not distinguish between county resident or non-county resident. I just want you to know that.
We do distinguish between that, sir. Go right ahead.
The Open Meetings Act does not distinguish between a county resident and a non-county resident, and you don't have that right to distinguish between the two.
You're very close to being out of order, sir. Make your comment and sit down.
First thing I would like to say is congratulations on putting the cameras in. I like having cameras filming everything, including the audio, and I wish you would put it on your website, like you said, in the justification for it. And then the other things, I'll be real quick. You mentioned something in an unsigned memo that was distributed to the county board members at the last meeting. It was unsigned, that way I guess, so nobody can take responsibility for writing that memo. And when I asked who wrote it, my response was there's no documents pertaining to that request. So I guess we'll never know who wrote that memo. But the memo was unsigned and it talked about violent tones. And although I raised my voice a little, and I think I'm free to raise my voice, there's nothing in any Open Meetings Act or in the First Amendment aside from fighting words that would constitute any violent tones that I've heard in here since for the last 3 months that I've been coming to this meeting. And finally, all the other claims in the memo that was given to you guys, none of them had any record to to substantiate any claims made in those memos. And I think, when you get right down to it, it approaches, what I would consider intimidation by public officials against citizens, whether they be from Vermilion County or not. And I would hope that, we're not heading it into that direction, because that is not lawful, so.
For the record, my name is Arthur Cronkite. I live in Vermilion County. And I do wish you folks wouldn't make me do this. In describing American politics, Ralph Nader said it best, that only the difference between the Republican and Democratic parties is the velocity with which their knees hit the floor when corporations knock on their door. And there's no better example of that than last month's pandering and groveling board meeting. It was, however, kind of the board to allow those who regularly speak for their rights who have been relegated to the back of the bus to once again be allowed to sit up front with our visiting dignitary. A few years back, this board helped provide $100 million in our tax money to a predatory 1%er that pocketed the money, borrowed to build a 27,000-acre wind turbine cluster, then sold for God knows how much profit. Now you once again bow to these same masters, eagerly awaiting the next pat on the head. October's board meeting was quite a show. Our honored guest, Attorney Mike Blazer, spoke as though the corporation which he represents was a benevolent corporate citizen. To highlight this, he repeatedly gushed of the close association with our own legal counsel and the voluminous transfer of documentation from our counsel pertaining to the suffering families. One has to wonder about such transfers and question whether our counsel will be as generous with the afflicted Harkey family in providing their document needs, or will the Harkeys be forced, like all other parties involved in this fiasco, to beg through the Freedom of Information Act for documents that are regularly denied and who have, as an intimidation tactic, been labeled potentially violent by legal counsel. Mr. Blazer's cozy relationship with our legal counsel was so great that at one point he even turned to our counsel for clarification of his own affairs. A most curious exchange. But not as curious as Mr. Blazer leading us to believe that there were two families in litigation against his firm, only to recant as only one when asked. This kind of spin continued as he stated that the affected parties had refused access to the properties for audio reasons, reinforced with help by a board member who asked the same words, who Mr. Blazer then stated again, creating a perception of unreasonable denial, interrupting the question never asked by that board member, whose career was in seeking truth with the simple word, why? So why would a homeowner suffering from infrasonic frequencies let a contractor who would not test for these effects inside their house have access to the property? Would you sign a contract allowing someone whom you knew was going to do shoddy work that only benefits someone else and hurts you have access to your property? 3 times that night, Mr. Blazer formed a contract with Vermilion County saying they would not stop until finding a cause. So will our legal counsel hold them to that contract? Will you make sure they deliver on their promise? Will Mr. Blazer really follow through? Doubtful, because they already know the cause, which is why they contractually retain top audio experts from the beginning and then con you into thinking they really care by perpetrating this charade. Not convinced? Just call Falmouth, Massachusetts, and ask them about the turbines that can't be run because they're destroying their health and can't afford to dismantle at $1 million each. Of course, our lapdog media, complicit in regular deceit of under or non-reporting of words spoken here, continue their devious conclusive work, and in the case of one newspaper, falsifying facts to make the afflicted party seem like the bad guy, a common thread throughout all of the media's reporting on this issue. Our imperial world war on everyone has driven development of many new weapons. One is an infrasonic urban control system, a speaker system that can be mounted on an ATV, drove up to a crowd of thousands, activated, causing everyone in front of the speakers to instantly defecate themselves. So tell me, even after coaching you on infrasonic frequencies, not one of you bothered to ask why those frequencies were not tested inside homes, which is where they reveal themselves in audible, painful tones. Why? Oh, and please do tell the great windfall in county revenue from our $100 million giveaway is helping reduce our taxes. We see virtually no testicular fortitude in this body, only mute servants to higher powers, speak of secret handshakes assured by ancient brotherhoods and enforced by subtle brutality. We all know that you currently you have no power in these matters. It also apparent that none of you here will stand against the corporate greed that now destroys our communities. You thought powerless in the beginning and believe powerless now, and they know it.
subliminally reinforcement letter from Hervis, Cunnin, and Bersani dated April 13th. If you even try, they'll sue you. So those of us here speaking truth to power know this. Some of you know it, and the corporate robber barons certainly know it. Now it's simply a matter of conditioning the sheeple to accept suffering in their homes, so they will increasingly gather here to confront their Judas representatives. Joseph Kennedy once said, 50 men run America, and that's a high figure. So we would like to know who in this county runs you, because from where we stand, it appears you're not allowed to really ask questions or challenge anyone, except for those without power and wealth. Thank you.
Good evening, my name's David Miles. I've been Roy Armstrong. First, I'd like to thank all the veterans for your service, because if it's you, I can get up here and my voice would be heard. Thank you. As to what Invenergy Council Mr. Blazer said last month, number one, we never said we were not happy with Mr. Schomer. He and Mr. Donahue misled you on that, period. Number two, Mr. Blazer said it would cost more for the study. I guess 250 feet further from my home and 25 feet from my property line costs more. So be it. I probably saved them money, since they already had a lease agreement to the ground next to mine where the study is being done, and he did not have to spend any time on paperwork. He later stated that it was to be done at the property line according to the IPCB standards. So in other words, he did not need to be on my property at all. It did not make any difference where it is, the sound is still loud. On another note, it seems to me, since it was brought up to the board that the GIS contract was in question, Mr. Weiner stated, you started using the media and other things to put the wind people in a bad light, which is far from the truth. We are not that way. We are just standing up for what we think is right and should not be put in this light. I guess I'm finding out what politics really are all about, and I don't like it. Also, in my opinion, is the conflict for Mr. Marin, who sits on this board, to talk to anyone about wind turbines. I have a pretty good idea of what wind turbines pay per year, and his family could make up to $750,000 for Invenergy with the rent by the construction laydown and the sites of the turbines on their land. Good for them, but still, I see it as a conflict. I think the board should not let any more turbines into the county until all county residents are protected. I will leave on a quote from an uncle who once told me, says, don't ever lie to them, and you don't have to remember what you said. Does anybody have any questions for me? Thank you.
G. Miles, Will Armstrong. The open invitation extended several months ago to all county board members to visit our home to experience the loud turbine noise still stands. We would gladly welcome each and every one of you into our home. With the crops out of the field, leaves off of the trees, and the wind conditions, the turbines have been extremely loud. We have contacted Invenergy 7 times in the last 2 weeks to report this, and have yet to receive a response. Invenergy's California Ridge Industrial Wind Farm would not have been a reality without a county ordinance. An ordinance created, signed, and implemented by the Vermilion County Board, allowing turbines to be sited too close to home. So I must ask, why are the residents not being protected? Why are our cries for help falling on deaf ears? Who should be held accountable? If the county board, the one responsible for this weak ordinance, is not the correct place to seek help from, then please let me know and I will go elsewhere. The county board should want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Stop wasting valuable time and resources by portraying the victims as the villains. Instead, focus your attention and energy on the offenders who have created and forced all of us into this unbearable situation. I will let you come to your own conclusions as to who that is. But one thing is certain, it is not the victims of California Ridge. After all, we did not create, sign, or implement this ordinance. Invenergy knew what life in an industrial wind farm would be like. They didn't care. If the county board had done their due diligence, you would have known and would have implemented an ordinance with responsible setbacks to protect the residents. Please don't shoot the messenger. I am simply delivering the truth. If some of you, and you know who you are, would get out of bed with Invenergy long enough to look around, you too would see the truth. So you see, I am here begging for my life back because your ordinance failed to protect me and my family. Please ask yourself this one question tonight. What would I do if my family was being harmed at no fault of my own? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Darrell Cameron from rural Rankin, and I had an issue that I wanted to bring up from last month. Since we only had the 5 minutes, I didn't have time to share my thoughts on something that happened in September. It was 8 o'clock in the evening during the week. My phone rang, and it was a call from a Vermilion County family that lives in the Invenergy Industrial Wind Complex. They were again having a horrible night of trying to sleep, and the noise from the turbines was keeping them awake. They told me that they had called a county board member and asked him to come over and hear what they now had to live with. And the member's response was, quote, "I'm not coming over there," and then he hung up on him. I immediately got in my car and I drove over there to see if there was anything I could do to help him. 2 weeks later, I got a call from a friend. He knows someone in the Invenergy complex that was having issues with noise from the turbines. He wants to know if we can go over and meet with the couple. Him and I go over to their house, and we're told they have a 1-year-old infant that is having trouble sleeping ever since the turbines were turned on. They noticed that when they stay out of the house, went on a trip, their baby does not have any problem sleeping. As soon as they get back and the turbine noise occurs, then their baby is visibly upset and doesn't sleep well. So what do I tell these people? They are uncomfortable coming before a situation like this with the county board, and I honestly cannot recommend that they speak to the county based on the responses that we've been given over the last year or so. Is this the character of the county board that we can continue to expect? Is this the type of consideration that can be expected from this board? And frankly, the responses to date have been disgraceful, and disappointing, and it's not right. And I would just like to add, I mean, these people, this couple has a really nice place there in Powell Township. They invested in a home. They had a nice deck on the back of their house with fire pit on it where we sat outside. And the turbine noise was, it wasn't impossible, but it was definitely a nuisance and an intrusion on their property. And it took away from the value and the quality of the time that we spent outside on their deck. So it was definitely a problem for them. And I hope this is not the type of county that we're going to live in. Thank you.
My name's Ted Harkey. I live in Pilot Township. A month ago, it was very tough to stand here and listen to 26 minutes or more of Mr. Blazer have 26 minutes and only get 5 minutes myself. The amount of stuff he covered, unwound everything that, and it was full of lies and misinformation. He said that they lost 1 month getting access to property. That's a false statement. My wife was here in August. She said 11 times the number between January and late April that our family openly offered and begged, even begged Invenergy to set up sound measuring equipment on our property, even offering our bedroom as a data collection site so they could accurately record what we're experiencing. Blazer said, when the wind's blowing hard, we have no intent to slow down turbines. Really, since your sound study started, we've had 0 times that they have operated at 16 RPM. They've been running at 10 RPM for as much as we have witnessed, even in October and November. We've encountered consistent serious noise issues now since early October, but we have yet to observe the turbines running at full capacity. It's plenty windy. What does this tell you? Blazer said the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Directive was that several turbines needed to be curtailed and slowed down. I'd like to see that, Fish and Wildlife Directive. I don't believe that. They slowed down turbines during September for the burn back study. Denial of the access caused the delay. And so he repeated that again. The Harkey and the Miles family had not provided access because we're still negotiating for fair treatment. We wanted Dr. Schomer in the place of Hankard. We were planning to allow access as soon as Energy agreed to use Schomer and give us full access to the SCADA data, production data, wind speed, etc. for the time period being collected by Schomer. They said they have no intent to go through November. We have an unlimited budget. We invite Energy to continue the sound study through next April. Perhaps we'll see why the Harkeys, why we already tried to hire Dr. Schomer during the first week of April. Our attorney said he met with Mr. Blazer on August 16th to discuss the sound study, and Blazer stated that the delay in setting up their testing was that Schomer was out west on another project until recently. It wasn't the access that we denied that slowed it down. Mr. Stark said he wanted to be clear, he asked questions, he wanted to be clear that Harkey and Miles refused access to their property. Blazer's answer was that Mr. Donahue provided both families with the access agreement, so we could look at it. Mr. Donahue never sent that to me. He lied about that. Our advisors have told us that allowing access to our property would allow Energy to take the measurements anywhere but the location defined by the IPCB. The IPCB says measurements must be taken at the property line, not allowing access, forced Hankard to be bounded by the established rules. We're told that Dr. Schomer was one of the authors of the IPCB noise measurement regulations in the 1970s. We wanted Dr. Schomer to do the work, and in the 70s, Schomer and his cohort established that the property line of the receiving property is the only appropriate place to measure the noise. Blazer said, paraphrase here, this is what we are monitoring for at their residences. The delay forced us to come up with a surrogate study, more complicated to figure out what the noise is at the residences. Before it all started, everyone involved agreed to follow the IPCB standards. The Vermilion County Wind Ordinance says IPCB standards. Donahue said the IPCB standards must be followed. Blazer said they would go by the IPCB standards. Read those standards, and those say property line. There was no need to come up with an alternative protocol. The IPCB protocol is already established, and Hankard should be familiar with it. After clearly deviating from the IPCB protocol and doing as Blazer and Donahue had promised, Blazer stood here last month and openly admitted that they were in fact not following the IPCB protocol, and they alluded to the fact that Hankard is doing something better than that. He failed to mention the fact that all this data they're collecting will most likely not be acceptable to IPCB, and the county may need to pay for another sound study to collect data using the appropriate protocol. Why won't Energy conduct a study that's established?
Mr. Hartsey, the 5 minutes that you've been allotted has expired.
May I please continue?
No, we need to move on. We have several items on our agenda tonight, sir.
Folks, please believe me, I am telling the truth. I am not a liar. I am not a crook, a criminal. I don't run people off the road. I'm being honest with you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Hartsey. We have time for one more public comment tonight.
I'm going to Kim Shirk, Hudson, Illinois. I'm going to continue where I left off last time, but I do have to say I'm astounded by your budget discussion. You whined about lack of revenue because you're the fastest shrinking metro area. that happens when you allow a wind turbine in. Increased utility bills, those are caused by forced renewable energy standards upon us. Declining tax base, the very things that you are whining about saying you need to tax people more for is what you have caused by allowing the wind farm into your county. Now, we're back to the same spot. Why you have an audience full of people that can't live in their own homes, that can't sleep at night because you allowed a wind turbine in. Wanted to let you know how they fake the wind studies. I gave you this handout last week. I'm going to start on page 4, if I can find it. This is a legal document, findings of fact from the Arcola City Council, and these are their findings of fact on why they denied a permit for a wind turbine. Number 18, the noise data that was submitted is conflicting, inconsistent, and incomplete. The noise modeling, number 19, the noise modeling studies submitted are not the same noise modeling studies that have been prepared previously by the wind developer. Number 20, the sound measurements taken with respect to ambient background noise levels are suspect. The ambient levels are supposed to represent a background sound level that would be the average for a year-round basis. There was unrebutted testimony from a gentleman, Myron Schonkweiler, that the sound measurements taken on his property were anything but representative of his farm. They chose the busiest, loudest day of the year. He testified that 3 diesel tractors were plowing in the field. A combine was running all day long, and a semi-trailer was hauling the beans from the field at the time the sound measurements were taken. He asked them to come back on another day, and they refused. The very next morning, while they were continuing to record the noise levels, he could hear a combine being operated on another land, and another vehicle backing up, making the beeping sound. He testified under oath that none of these activities were usual or representative of the ambient sound levels. Yet that's what the wind developer used. The finding of fact stated that this is not a valid conclusion, given the fact that the ambient noise measurements are not representative of typical background levels of sound. Number 22, it is undisputed that low-frequency sounds are emitted by turbines. The wind developer admitted he did not take any measurements of frequencies below 31.5 hertz. The sound measurements do not provide the necessary data on low frequency. They did no C measurements, which is what you measure low frequency sounds. This is why you have the people over here. When they gave you your sound studies, these guys did the exact same thing. They don't measure what you need to know and what's going to drive people out of their houses. You created this mess. You need to fix it. You can't stand behind your podium and say it's between these people, your constituents that are suffering, and the wind company. You allowed this wind farm in. You have the declining revenues. You have schools losing kids. You have people moving out. This is your problem. You need to fix it.